lose his interest in education almost before he even gets started in school. And the parents usually, who are also limited where education is concerned and who have run into so many barriers and obstacles despite the fact they had education, sometimes they ask themselves, what's the use? So as long as the system that we are in exists, and this system, the survival of this system depends upon the continued exploitation of the black man in this country. The survival of it depends upon the continued degrading of the black man in this country and the necessity of using us as the whipping boy and the alibi and the excuse. As long as this system exists, then you will find that our people will have the same attitude toward education. After they can be explained. But at the same time, the burden rests upon the leaders of the Afro-American community to try and instill within the youth especially the desire to further their education, because without it, you're not going anywhere on this earth today.
Yeah, that was Brother Malcolm dropping that knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So what you think of that?
That was good. I appreciate Brother Malcolm. I appreciate you, Al, for letting me come on your venue with you. Malcolm X, he was a proponent of education, and I think that the people who run these schools that we send our children to know the things that Malcolm is talking about too. And I think they are specifically using it against us and our kids and just our generation to come. I work in the grassroots sector. So I'm working with kids, at-risk youth. Mm-hmm. Their ages would be 5 to 16. And I see the problems that come with the school districts. You know, I don't work for the school district, but I see what they're producing, and what they're producing. Like, I would never call our children dumb. Our children are very intelligent, mm-hmm. but they're in a system that is specifically dumbing them down. It's dumbing them down for purposes of uselessness. It's dumbing them down so they could go to prison. It's dumbing them down so they can go to the morgue. You got kids. I work with children every day from 5 to 12. I got 7th and 8th graders that I'm working with, mm-hmm. that can't multiply. I'm talking about 7 times 4. You know, they get a problem that'll say 324 times 17. Hold on one second. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry about that. Oh, cool. Yeah, we deal at my job with kids, like an after-school program. And, you know, we get the kids, they get these math problems. You know, like I said, like 324 times 17. You know, and then it's like, okay, the kid is like 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade. Like, so, you know, when you had that problem written out, your first problem is, what's 7 times 4? They start counting on their fingers. They start drawing the circles, the 7 circles, and put like 4. So, you know, when you had that problem written out, 4 lines, problem is 7 times 4. They start counting. They start drawing the circles, the 7. I hear some feedback.
It's cool. I fixed it.
Okay. Yeah, so, and it's like, if you were in 6th or 7th grade and you don't know what 7 times 4 is, and you got a math problem that's asking you to do these problems, these multi-level, simple math problems, you know, shit that we knew when we was like in 3rd and 4th grade.
Right.
And they having problems with this. I was telling a young lady today, I said, listen, you about to go to 9th grade next year. Like, the math you're going to receive in high school is light years ahead of this simple mathematics problem, this basic arithmetic problem. And and what I've noticed is that children from the certain schools, like you get the charter schools. The charter school kids, I think it's a different environment in there. So a lot of my charter school kids that come to my program don't have the same attitude as the neighborhood public school kids. Whereas the neighborhood public school kids, they had this attitude where it's like being smart and wanting to know and wanting to do better is like, oh man, what? Then I get the kids from the charter schools that, you know, they look at the kids from the neighborhood schools like, damn, you don't know that? Like, you don't know what 7 times 4 is? So
but let me ask you this: what you think? Where do you think the problem comes from? Like, where's the root cause of this problem? Because I've spoken to teachers, and a lot of teachers blame the parents. But me personally, I think it's this systematic problem. Like, you know, it's a systemic thing from the top down. Like, the government is in our, like, it starts at the federal government level, and then it goes to the state level, and then the city level. And I think it's a major conspiracy to dumb our children down specifically.
I agree. Like we was talking yesterday, about the school district, like who I would see was the main problem. I would say the main problem is the state and government and the Department of Education, which is funded by the federal government. They are the problem, because if you go to a school, you know, we live in Philadelphia, so if you go to a school in Bucks County, like, I don't know, the cities up in Bucks County, like, what's the city up in Bucks County? Something to start with a B. I can't think of it right now. But even if you go to Lower Marion, like where Kobe Bryant went to school at, right? Which is on the other side of City Line Avenue, the things that are accepted in our schools would never be accepted over there. So it's a culture. It's a culture of failure. And then you have, like we were saying yesterday, you got a law. It's a law. Like, if your child don't go to school for 5 days or 7 days, you gotta go to truancy court.
Right.
So if the school is making it a lawful thing for you to go to school, the school has to set the culture. It has to put the precedent there where this is a learning environment. You're going to learn something. That's why you're here. Because it's obvious that, you know, when a child goes into church, he knows not to run around, slap his friends in the head, stick his middle finger up. The child goes to court. He knows not to talk shit to the judge. He knows not to talk shit to the bailiff. You know, he knows that there are consequences for his action. When you go to these schools, they know what the consequence is. The precedent is already set. It's, you know, I'm here to act a fool. My teachers don't give a fuck. Principal don't give a fuck.
And my parents don't.
Yeah, my parents don't. Exactly. My parents don't give a fuck. Like, I mean, if you have a child, like, you have a child that's a teenager or a preteen that doesn't know their 4 times tables, there's multiple failures there. Like, there are probably more failures there than you would see. Like, you know, we see it, but then we have. When do you learn your multiplication tables? Like third grade. There's a third grade teacher failure, 4th grade teacher failure, 5th grade teacher, so forth and so on. Then you have counselor failures. Then you have principal failure. You have multiple failures here, and it's the job. It's a law that these kids have to be in these buildings. It's a law. Like, it's the law.
Right. Because without the law, these kids wouldn't even show up. The parents wouldn't make them go.
Parents wouldn't make them show up. The parents wouldn't even make them show up. A lot of them, not all of them, but you know.
But you know, that might turn around and be that might be the best thing, because they come to school and disrupt the kids who came to learn.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, they come. Those children come to school and disrupt the children that do want to learn. Exactly.
Right. So I think the major issue is we as the citizens are like trapped in the middle of something that we don't have nothing to do with. You know what I'm saying? And our children are suffering. Because me personally, I can't really blame the teachers, but I do blame the system. The system is failing the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
In order to fix that, though, the parents...
I couldn't blame anybody else.
Yeah, the parents got to step up. Like, if your kid doesn't know by a certain age, then that's the parent's fault. The parent has to take the majority of responsibility, because whether the school teaches your kid or not, you're supposed to teach your kid the fundamentals, if nothing else. But
it's kind of like, I don't know, it's weird because, you know, the state will step in if your kid is out there selling crack or selling drugs. The state will step in immediately, take the child away, put the child somewhere in the mountains, or send them out to, you know, the Glen Mills somewhere. They step in when the kid commits a crime. Right. But the crime it's a crime being committed against us too, when we send our kids to these horrible schools. And then you look at the parent like, hey, you know, it's up to you. But it's really up to them. Like, it's just like you said, if it wasn't a system where, okay, hey, you don't gotta go to school, a lot of them kids wouldn't be there. A lot of parents wouldn't buy the clothes. They say, fuck it, I'm not sending them there. Fuck it, they can do what they want to do. They can go get a job. They can go to work with their uncle. Go do something like that. But the kids gotta be in these buildings. They gotta be there. Right. So in turn,
and if the state could produce some state-raised children who were very successful in school, then they might have a dog in this fight. But the fact that state-raised kids are more likely to commit crimes means the state has more failure on their hands than crackhead parents. You know what I'm saying? So they might as well just back out of the whole situation for real.
Well, actually, that's what they are doing with the charter.
The fact that kids don't get left down anymore is more detrimental to the children than anything. You get pushed ahead before you.
I think they do some kids are getting left down. I think a lot of times it has to do with like if they just are complete. Like the school year was a complete wash. The school will. I got a student that I'm working with now that was left back. She was left back, but her comprehension level is so low that, you know, she might have some like learning issues. So I guess they had to leave her back. I know they can leave back if the parent wants the child to be left back. They can do that. But for the most part, I think it's just set up. I believe it's just set up that way for these kids to come out of 12th grade and know as little as possible.
Exactly. Like if I was to have a kid right now, I have to really consider homeschooling. Like you have to really consider that, even though you do want them to go to school and have more of a social life, but at the same time, they're not, you know, one kid disrupts the class and then the teacher is powerless to do anything about the bad kids.
It's so many factors to it too, because you get these schools in our communities are considered undesirable by the teachers, you know, by the teachers union and things like that. So all the experienced tenured teachers are at schools like Central and Girls High and Engineering Science and Masterman. All the quote unquote tenured and good teachers are there. And then you get these young white girls, these people who don't necessarily have degrees in education, working at the quote unquote undesirable schools. you know, the schools in the hood. And a lot of those girls, those young white girls, have never been around black people. You know, like, their first experience with black kids might have been when they was at college. You know what I'm saying? You in college for 4 years, and like, those people don't know nothing. Like, me going into a classroom and talking to Jamal is a million times different than Katie going into that same classroom and talking to Jamal. Because I might know Jamal's dad. You understand what I'm saying? Like, right. She's afraid of Jamal's dad. So there's right. You know, there's a different dynamic going on here. Like, you know, it's like, and then there's the whole it's not an understanding. Then it's not understanding our culture, not understanding the things that make us mad, the things that make us happy. And then you spending these white girls and these uneducated teachers are spending more time with the kids than the parents. You know, kids get to school 8 o'clock in the morning, they leave at 3 o'clock. You know, and they come home for a couple hours and then they in the bed. They spending more time with your kids than you are.
Right. And depending on what time the parent comes home, like, you got to factor in, they might have a 9 to 5, and then they got a commute. So they might get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Then they got to make dinner or, you know, get settled or whatever. And it's not that, well, how was your day today? You know, like it used to be. Because a lot of parents are still children in a sense where they still worrying about their needs and their wants more so than their children.
Exactly. You're 100% right about that.
So the children are not getting what they need at home, and they're not getting what they need at school. So it's a complete failure. Then they grow up and become adults, and then it's just another generation of failures.
Yeah, they become adults and don't know what, and counting on their fingers what 7 times 4 is.
Right.
And that, you know, it's like, and then by the time you turn 18 or 19, and you don't know what 9 times 9 is or 9 times 8 is, you know how to mask it. You know how to mask it very well. You've mastered the act of masking your ignorance.
Right. Now I'm gonna drop this conspiracy theory on you, because what I realized is information is at the tip of your fingers, everybody. And kids walk around with these phones and they can get on YouTube and they can see informational documentaries in a second. You know what I'm saying? Then there's Google was right there. And I know people don't like Wikipedia, but yeah, Wikipedia is right there. So they have to dumb down their kids so they don't even want information because they got all this new technology out there to give them the information, Johnny on the spot. So it's like the powers that be have to have a dumb population. See, before they could let us be as smart as we wanted to be, because it was like hard to get the information, and it was slow, quite frankly, because you would have to read a whole book cover to cover, then retain it, then read another one and retain it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Here, the information, they just give you the answers, and the information is here. It's microwave. It's instant. And they don't want the children to, one, have a brain and then have their technology, because that technology plus their brain is going to equal trouble for the powers that be.
Of course.
And see, black people sit here and let this stuff go down like it's not fixable. Like, well, you know, this is where it is. You know, we had that surrender attitude, that give up attitude all the time.
Yeah.
And these are your children. You know what I'm saying? Primarily, I think
it's too easy. It's too easy for our people to pass them off and pass the buck. It's just too easy. Like, you know, well, I sent them to school. I mean, I look at some of these neighborhood schools, and I ain't saying no names, but I look at them and I say, sending your kid to this school is like going to the gas station, getting a stem, a rose, putting a rock in that shit and putting it in your kid's mouth, or buying a needle and shooting them up with dope. Like sending them to some of these buildings, just the buildings alone. Like you got buildings like Franklin Learning Center. That building is over 100 years old. I believe that's the oldest school building in Philadelphia. Building is 100 years old. Like just aesthetically, that building shouldn't have children being educated in it. It's 100 years. The building is over 100 years old. Some of the kids in that building right now are going to live to be 100 years old. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and this is where they're learning. Like, can you imagine this world? Like, we got the iPhone 10 coming out. Right. Can you imagine this world when a 14-year-old child is 100 years old? And they're being educated in a school that was built in the 1800s? Like, it just starts them off wrong. They're being pushed out of the world wrong. And and that's cool. That's cool. Like, black people like you said, they accepted that.
But then there's also people who send their kids they move out to the suburbs, and then they send their kids to their schools. And at the same time, you see that their kids are failing now. So it's really something, I don't want to say innate, but it's something in our system, because we're not taking care of us. Right. No. So if we're not taking care of us, then there's always going to be a problem, no matter what school you go to. Because now you hear bad things about Upper Darby High, when just in 2007 it was like ranked up there with all the statewide, was ranked up there as one of the best schools.
Oh, we could do it. That's a whole nother show though. Like, start talking about what's going on in those outlying suburbs and border suburbs. That gentrification. That's gentrification. Right. See, that's the back end of gentrification. You know, like what Upper Darby, like we know what Upper Darby was when we was high school age, right. And we look at what Upper Darby is now. Upper Darby looks like where I grew up in West Oak Lane. It looked like Alany or West Oak. Upper Darby used to be for those that don't know, it's on the western suburbs of Philadelphia. It used to be a predominantly white community. Now with the gentrification going on, Upper Darby is a black community now. For sake of better word, it's a predominantly black community. Yep. And the school has become a quote unquote black school. Like it's a school, it's like a neighborhood school. And that just goes to show, like you always say, like black people chasing behind the white folks, and then white folk leave, and then it's just what it was. It's what you left. Exactly. Then when you want to go back to where you were, you can't even afford that.
Can't even afford it.
So it's a game.
And we so smart but so dumb that we can't see it, because it happened to us. Like, we already lived through it with our parents. Like, how does Southwest Philly become Southwest Philly, or West Philly becomes West Philly, like the West Philly we know with the shooting and the violence? How does that happen? Because
Southwest Philly historically was a Italian and Irish community.
Irish, yeah, it was Irish. But then, in 1968, they was like, "Yo, we coming out to Southwest Philly." Most of the people from South Philly came to Southwest Philly.
Across the bridge.
Yep. So by 1970 something, 1978, 79, it was probably and it then became all black. I know by the time I started running the streets, by the time I was allowed to go around the corner, my whole neighborhood was black. I just knew 2 white people in the neighborhood. And yeah, that was it. There was one white family in the neighborhood. They missed the boat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So same thing with my neighborhood. Same exact thing. Same thing. It was one white family in the neighborhood. That was it. And like I always say, like when my mom came to West Oak Lane, which is, you know, where a lot of the people from North Philly went,
mm-hmm.
it was pretty much white. But she said that when the black people started coming in, the moving trucks would pull up at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they was gone. They ain't say nothing. They ain't say hi. They ain't say bye. They was out of there. And then that's how the neighborhoods become black. Like, they don't even say nothing. They say, I guess they say stuff at their dinner tables and at their cookouts and at work. They don't say nothing to us. They see one black family on the block, time to get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck up on out of here.
And you know what? And that's cool. Because I'm not one for forced integration anyway. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like I understand white flight isn't necessarily racist. It's more so economic. But the fact that we follow behind it based off, oh, well, the good schools are over there. The good housing is over there and all of that. No, that's dumb. Because the good schools are where the good students are. So as long as you raise your kid the way you're supposed to raise them, then the schools will be good. And I hear a lot of stuff about resources, but that can't be the issue in 2017.
Not at all.
It can't be, because I see these little
kids
in the hood.
Because you can educate somebody with a laptop. Like, exactly. You can get a tablet, not even a laptop.
Yeah. You
can get a little Hewlett Packard, or, you know, one of them companies that make these little computers, make a little tablet. You can learn everything you need to know on that. You can teach a class on a tablet.
Exactly.
So, like, yeah, you're 1,000% right. It's definitely not up to, it's the student, what the student wants. But then again, it's the system too.
Right. Well, the system put it in place, but then it's the Negro going along with it instead of putting our brakes on it and saying, yo, this ain't right. Yo, we should really be, like, isn't there a black superintendent of school? What's his name? Dr. Height. Yeah.
His name is Height.
Now, he just going with the flow. He's not trying to fix nothing. He's just doing his job. He's just,
he's just trying to cash his check. Exactly. Right. And that's what 90% of the school district of Philadelphia is. And I would gather the school district of New York and Washington and Chicago. Mm-hmm. Every school district is pretty much that. But our unique problem in Philadelphia is that we have a city that is predominantly black. So your school district is going to reflect that. You go to some place like Los Angeles, school district is probably, I don't know, maybe like 15, 20% black. You go to New York, the school district probably has a healthy amount of, it's probably predominant. I don't have the figures in front of me, but I'm willing to bet the school district of New York is predominantly black and Spanish, but it has a healthy amount of Caucasians there too. So that's much more money being funneled into the school through taxes and just through sheer ability of the parents to want more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we just moved to Brooklyn and, we're going to send our kids to the public school and they're going to expect more from that school. They're going to expect more. As opposed to where we are, you have school that's probably 90%, 85% black. If a white family or Asian family sends their child to a Philadelphia school, it's pretty much like, this might be the last option. It's not the first option. For us, it's the only option.
Mm.
It's because the Caucasian family or the Asian family, 9 times out of 10, I don't even want to get into all this. This is spurring off the point. The family is intact. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The family is intact. So they say, we're going to send our kids to Catholic school. We're going to send our kids down to one of the friends' schools. The Asian family is, I'm willing to bet 100% of the Asian families are intact. The mom there, the dad there. The mom working, the dad, they probably working together. They're going to send their kids somewhere. It's like, listen, we're going to send our kids to this good school. This is the school we got to pay for. They're going to do that. And, like, you know, if you see them at a school that's where it's a lot of us, it's like the last option. So yeah, it's a lot of factors in the school district, whole school and all that. But I think we both can agree that it's not our people's fault that we are. Let me rephrase. It's the government's fault that these children are being miseducated, but it's our fault that we have not galvanized together as a group and put our money together to build these schools for ourselves. And I guess it's kind of like a joke. I always tell people, I guess they take it as a joke, but I'm dead serious about it. We have a healthy amount of black millionaires and billionaires, the Oprah Winfrey's of the world.
Right.
And the combined money of Jay-Z and his wife, and then you got Deshaun Combs, who did open a school. I'm very glad. I don't like Puffy at all. Anybody know me know I don't like Puffy, but he opened a school. You got Kenny Gamble down in South Philly. He opened up 2 schools. That shit is commendable. But we have enough money as a race to take. This was my plan. I know you got a plan too. My plan was to take somebody that all black people trust, a star, somebody like Danny Glover or Alfred Woodard.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And every black person that makes over $5 million a year, give them, I don't know, $20,000. Put that shit in a pot and let's start building our own school. And anybody is welcome, but you're going to learn, black children are going to learn what they need to learn to succeed in this world. Yeah. Because what they're learning now.
You know, then after that, there's no more excuses. See, because then once you control your own destiny, then there's no more excuses. Then you're going to ride and die, but you're going to ride or die by your own free will, what have you. But I think, you know, a lot of Negroes like to have that excuse in their back pocket. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't successful, you know, I could blame the white man. He, you know. You know.
Yeah. I mean, the government or the white man, or whoever you want to say it, is the main culprit. He's the bandit. He's the ringleader. But he don't have a gun to our neck. You understand? Like he ain't put the gun in our back and say, rob that bank. You know what I'm saying? He might have gave you the gun and said, you know, you could rob a bank with that. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like a good analogy for that. Right. But, you know, we can always put the gun down and do something else with our time. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we really should be doing. We got all these NFL dudes. We got all these NBA dudes. We got all these actors, these directors, these housewives, idiots. We can get them together. Hey, listen, you making $10 million a year. All we asking for is $25,000. Put this shit in a pot. Give it to Danny Glover. Give it to Alfred Woodard. They're gonna be in control of the money, and we're gonna start building buildings. We're gonna start building our own schools.
Like what
I don't know.
Kevin Hart just did that for the Houston, you know, for the hurricane thing.
Yeah, he made everybody come together and put some money up.
Yeah, we could just do that for the schools.
Yeah.
And my thing is too, I think that there's not enough black children going to black universities. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a problem too. Like when I was coming up, even my own mom didn't want, like my mom didn't really want my sister to go to Howard. You know, she frowned her face up when my sister wanted to go there. But, you know, my sister, she went to Penn State. Now, you know, you could kind of blame it on her, maybe. But I look at it like you know, some people go to these other universities and get set up to fail, where, you know, because you're coming from Overbrook, you know what I'm saying, and then you lacking some type of information, and then you go there and they full steam ahead leaving you. Where a black university might be a little more nurturing. I don't know. I haven't gone, but
the
that's
problem with the black schools. Not like Howard, because Howard is an elite school,
right?
But you know, schools like Prairie View are elite black schools. Morehouse, of course. Then you get the ones like, I don't know. I don't want to down any of those schools because all those schools are doing great things.
Mm-hmm.
But you get these schools, and I'm not even gonna say no name, but on the back end, the problem is twofold. The back end is that we send our children to school to go ask other people for jobs and not create jobs, and we don't teach our kids to create jobs.
Right.
And we have to realize that on the back end, our children are going to go ask somebody for a job. Now, if my child has a degree from a black university, I'm not even going to name no names, and another person, even a black person, has a degree from Harvard or Yale or Penn or Cornell or Stanford or Columbia, it's not even a question who's going to get the job. Like, you don't even have to question it. Like, the person who doesn't look like us that is hiring two candidates that look like us. One has a degree from Yale, and one has a degree from a HBCU. We already know who's getting the job.
But
and
is that true, or is that, you know, something we just assuming? Like,
so then you got.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say, if the company is big enough, like if the company is large enough, somebody from that Ivy League school is at that company and is going to say, "Oh yeah, we got to take that Yale man, we got to take that Columbia man, we got to take that Penn man. I already know what he know." It's just a rigged game. It's like, you look at all these presidents that the United States puts in front of us. They all are Ivy League students. They all of them are the new idiot, the idiot. He went to Penn. Obama went to Columbia. Fucking Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. George Bush, both Bushes went to Yale. These guys are Ivy League characters.
Right.
So it's like, this is where, if you want to be in that world, that's what you have to do. I mean, I don't personally, you and I personally don't want to be in that world. But that's what happens. Like, I'm not going to go to Wall Street and get a job over somebody from Harvard Business. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I went to X HBCU, even if I went to one of the good ones, somebody with the degree. I mean, we know how it is. And then it's like, if I do get the job, because they need a chocolate chip in the cookie. You know what I'm saying? They need something there looking brown like me, so they don't get, and not, you know, or they need a woman there. They need a black woman. So everybody know that a lot of these companies, they'll hire a black woman so they could chop down two trees at the same time. I got a nigga and I got a female.
Right.
So, you know, they killing two birds with one stone. They chopping down two trees with one axe. It's like, hey, whatever, we got it. And our people are qualified for all those jobs, but we all know that this is good old boys. That's what happens. Like, that's generally what happens.
Yeah, because I was just saying the other day how we're not like in the last podcast, I kind of came at the females because females are quick to throw their degree up in the air like, yo, I got this piece of paper. I'm better than you. But what all you doing is what I do. I submit a resume and I wait to get hired. Why you ain't taking that degree and building something? And then then it's not really translating into some type of meaningful thing for Black people at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the kicker right there. They love to put on the news that our women are more educated than anybody. Then you come look at where we are, and it's like, oh, okay.
Right. So it means
like,
it means nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. The people that's making the money is Mercedes Benz because you went and bought a Benz, and the guy that built the house that you bought, the overpriced house that you bought, those are the people making the money off of your degree.
Right.
That money isn't coming back. It's the same old adage. Like our black dollar spends seconds in our hand. As soon as somebody of a certain stature or economic stature gets their first couple checks, they're going to buy a German car. They're going to go buy a car from Germany. Put some money in a German's hand. They're going to go buy a home funded by a Jewish company. Putting some money in a Jew's hand. So it's just kind of like that money not being circulated. That money should be put into, hey, I'm going to build this supermarket. I'm going to build this private school. I'm going to start this music school. Like something like that.
Right.
Something that you could be proud of, not something you should be proud of, not something that you use to because, like you said, a lot of our sisters throw it in your face. I see them all the time, and I love a Black woman. I'm not gonna publicly bash her, but some shit need to be said. You see a lot of you sisters with I'm the alumni of this school, and the car costs more than their house. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look at this car you got. Like you live in an apartment building. But you don't even have no property. And you got a car. Like,
because for real, they only know what they know, and they're not trying to find out anything more. So it's
and that.
Go ahead.
But that I was just going to interject, like, and that's taught at a young age. You can't go to college and say I'm gonna start loving Black or I'm gonna start building Black. Exactly. You got to see it as a child. You got to say, like, listen, just like the people from the other communities do. The Italians, like, oh, my grandfather was a butcher. My uncle was the candlestick maker, and all his customers were Italian. Same thing with the Jews. The Jews work together like clockwork. They like the inside of a Rolex the way they work together.
Absolutely.
Like, and then you got us that
just
you
a race of individuals,
you get in debt, and then I'm better than the people I grew up with.
There you go. Yep. So at the end of the day, we're responsible for our own downfall because we trample over the people who got left behind. Like, and that shit ripples out to the next generation. Then the next generation starting from scratch, doing the same thing.
Yep.
Like, Black people have been in college and getting college degrees for about 100 years now.
You said Black folks?
Yeah. Like, I was just down at Howard for my niece and whatever. And you learn a little history on Howard University and all of that. And it's like, yeah, Blacks have been down there in these fraternities making moves for about 100 years. Roughly. Okay. And it hasn't translated into the African American being a success in America. So melanated people all over the world look at us like, we just squandering opportunities. We have the resources that white people have, and we not using them.
The collective resources.
Right.
We had the collective resources. And I'm not going to say like that things aren't put in our way to, the obstacles are definitely put in our way.
Mm-hmm.
But we have the collective resource to definitely say, listen, I'm going to do this for us. This is ours. I mean, you got these people coming into the country. They've been in the country for lesser time. The group of people have been in the country lesser times than we've been on the earth. I'm saying you got, the Vietnamese. You got the Dominicans. They've been in this country. The Vietnamese, the war in Vietnam ended in 75.
Right.
Those people are here. Those people have businesses. Those people are successful. And then you got the Dominicans. It's like they appeared overnight. They just came, and they just here doing stuff with the stores and the bodegas. We call them the poppy stores or whatever, but they making millions of dollars, man, because they've gotten together as a collective. Something that we have yet to do. I mean, when we did it, I'm not going to say that we did it because I'm not going to skirt what happened in Black Wall Street in Tulsa and what happened in Florida.
Right.
That was stopped, but it didn't have to stop.
Right. This time you got to be a little more militant about what you're doing. So next time,
protecting your shit.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Protecting your shit. Mm-hmm.
But we're not teaching that goes back to the initial thing about what we are teaching our children from the beginning. I teach my niece and my nephew, my daughter about, themselves, about, Black pride. Now, my parents and my aunts and all that, they misconstrue that I'm teaching them to hate white people.
Hate, yeah.
No. Because I have white friends. I don't hate. You can't hate white people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can.
And live. Can't do it and live. You can't do it and live like, it ain't even about hate. It ain't about, because hate is, that shit.
But you get certain things done to you because you're Black for no other reason. Just because you're Black. See, like the brothers who get gunned down in the street, like Trayvon Martin, for instance, he got killed because he was Black. No other reason. So if America is going to operate from that perspective, then you have to be on defense from that perspective. And it starts teaching them like, yo, you 3-4 years old, you Black, and you should be proud of that.
It's like the Jews. The Jews will always let you know about their struggle, and Black people seem to be kind of like ashamed of their struggle. Like it's like, well, yeah, it happened. And like it's kind of like that scene in Boys in the Hood. I'm not African. I'm from Crenshaw Mafia.
Right.
It's like that. Like, but you are African. Like, African told me, an African from the continent, because I consider myself an African. An African from the continent told me that every Black person you see in America is somebody in Africa that look just like them. So, it's just like, this is what it is, man. It is what it is. And we have to embrace our struggle. We have to embrace it. We got to embrace it on the continent of Africa. We got to embrace it in the Caribbean. We got to embrace it wherever we find Black people. Say, listen, man, these people have done this to us. They've done this to us. Don't be ashamed of it. Use that shit. This is a fucking stepping stone.
Right. And prevent it from happening again in the future.
Again, to your children. If you love your children,
it's like the same landmines
we stepped on.
The same landmines we stepped on, our kids are doomed to repeat them. Same. Like they like we had the crack. All right, so our parents might have had the heroin back in the Nicky Barnes era. Then we come out and we start fooling with crack, and then now these kids got the Molly and the weed and the whatever else, the lean or whatever they doing. And we're not setting them up for success. Now the ones that are successful because that's just them. And we're not putting them we're not putting them in the right position to be successful.
Best position, yeah.
Because we're not even teaching them.
A lot of black parents have more love for their kids trying to get a spot on an NBA team or NFL team. And I used to work at a center. I ain't gonna say no names, but there was a lot of basketball talent coming out of that center. I would tell the dudes, they was getting them 4-year scholarships, and I would tell them, like, oh, man, the most important thing is to get that fucking degree. That's the most important thing. A lot of them dudes is like, man, I'm going to the league, man. This is my shot. That was what they was focused on. And I'm like, man, it's kind of sad that it wasn't hammered into them as a child, as a young child, but they were still children. Mm-hmm. As a young child, listen, you get a chance to get to a 4-year college. I'm talking like, I know guys that was going to like D1 program. Just like, and like, man, I want to play ball. Like, that's not what you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about that fucking degree. That's going to set up your children. And even if you don't make it, you're going to be in a position where you could send your son to a good basketball program and he could be better than you was. But they don't see it like that. Right. They just see it for I got to grab this bag now. I'm going to grab this bag. I'm going to take this bag.
And then to do what? You know, we always on this paper chase. And for what? Because we ain't we getting this money to what? To throw it up in the air and say, I got money. And then say, nah, you don't.
Mm-hmm. Look at all the NBA dudes and NFL dudes right now that's just like us.
No, and the fact that you get
Antoine
money,
Walker.
The fact that you get money to do something you love, like you getting millions of dollars to play a goddamn game. You put a ball through a hoop. You know what I'm saying? Or you take a ball and you run it a couple of yards. Or you tackling somebody. And you get millions of dollars to do that. You know, I'm not saying it don't take skill. I mean, but Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, if you born a certain way, you born you that's half the battle right there. Shit,
yeah, I used to definitely try to tell the brothers, like, look, man, the most important thing is you got these people offering you 4 years at their university, and even if they get hurt, they still got the 4 years.
Right.
It's a very good opportunity, but a lot of them cats, it's thousands of these cats out here, man. Then it's twofold because the parents, like I said, they never hammered it into them. Like even if you get to this level that you playing football, you at University of Miami, you at University of Michigan, you at Texas A&M, you at Missouri, you at University of Missouri, you at these D1 Penn State, Syracuse, you at these programs, these schools where you're gonna meet you're gonna meet somebody from fucking Sri Lanka at your school. You're gonna meet somebody from Moscow at your school. That's the most important thing. That's not hammered into them. It's like, you know, how many teams in the NBA? 30? 11 spots on a team? That's 32? How many teams in the NBA? 32 or 30, something like that? 11 spots on the team. That's real shitty odds. That's real shitty odds. And then they bringing these motherfuckers in from Europe. They bringing these Asian players in. It ain't looking good, man. And then you got the veterans. You got the vets already there that got at least 5, 10 more years left for playing. You know, NBA career can last 20 years. Right. Got these dudes, you know, so so even though it's 11 people on the team, that hammers that shit down to like 6. 30 times 6? Come on, man.
Yeah. You're right. But see, here's the thing too. You go to them schools and they working you like a horse. They not educating you. Yo, you got a 7 o'clock class, but you got practice at 5 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. You ain't got time to study. But the good thing about that though, and
my job is near Temple, so I see a lot of the Temple kids. The Temple will make sure they graduate. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like, they will make sure that it'll happen. They not learning nothing. But we all know at the end of the day, most important thing is, and you're 100% right, they're not educating them. Them niggas is graduating with public speaking degrees. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, like I know how to talk in public. You know what I'm saying? But it's a degree. And it can help you get a job and get something else.
Yeah.
Or you can network with people to build something else.
But building ain't instilled in our children at all.
No.
So we only go to college to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So you want to be in a, like when you, let's look at it like this. It was a hiring hall. You want to be the first one in line. Like, yo, I could do the job. I could do the job. But nobody is creating any jobs for themselves. We're not teaching our children to build. Like I told my niece, my nephew, my daughter, this from when they were small. You go to school, you get the grades. You get the grades, so you go to college for free. You only go to college so you can get a job. You get the job so you can get the capital to invest in yourself. And that's when you start living. When your money, when you're doing something you love and you're making that money, and that money is what I consider buying your freedom, that's when you can celebrate for real. But as long as you a pink slip away, you ain't never gonna be free.
Yeah.
You always gonna be locked up in this game. You know, some people work in the field, some people work in the house, but you going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's the thing we gotta stop. We gotta stop now. Cause all we doing is repeating. Now I'm 42 years old. I done seen it. I lived through it. And now I'm looking at the new generation, and guess what? They following the same dumb shit. It's nobody's putting their brakes on, like, yo, what are we doing?
And then it's like, you look at the history of successful, I don't even really want to say successful, but the people who came here, they've been here less times than we have. I'm talking about the Irish, the Italians, the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
They came here, during the end of the 19th century, the end of the 1800s. They worked, and granted, they got things that we didn't get, but a lot of them worked. They was, like I said earlier, they was the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. I'm saying, and they built those things. It's kind of like, you look at The Godfather, another perfect example. You create something for your kids to fall back on. You create that wealth over at least 2 or 3 generations. And then you look at those people now. I'm saying those people are embedded in the building trade. Those people send their kids off to college. The Jews have more money than God himself. I'm saying they started on the ground floor though. And we've never, John Henrik Clarke said black people's biggest problem was that we put our stoops on before we put our work boots on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say that exactly, but he said something to that effect. Like, we decided that we wanted to show off. We wanted to be the shit before we did the groundwork. Before we tilled the land, we took the ox to the land and built something.
Right. In other words, we taking our investment money and spending it on clothes and shit like that, and cars. This money that you make from this job is supposed to fund your business. You know what I'm saying? Like every Black History Month, you hear about all these black inventions. Oh, he was the first black man to do this. Oh, he was the first one to do that. And it didn't translate into nothing for black people. Like every city in the world has a traffic light. Who invented the traffic light? A black man. But is the black man getting the money for it?
Every house has an ironing board, and every every building has a mop.
Right. And it doesn't translate into black wealth. because I got mine. I'm cool, and that's it. And that's where the game ends. Instead of really, black people should just be like, all right, we messed up. So now it should just be like, let's just focus on the children. Let's just set the children up. And first thing you got to do to set them up is get their minds right. Because guess what? They're going to spend their hard-earned money to save up $300,000, $400,000, maybe $500,000 to move exactly where you left. Because 52nd in Baltimore is the shit now. Or Broad and Lehigh. Oh, that's where the doctors stay. You know what I'm saying? Bro, and Tioga is, you know what I mean? That's the elite of the elite to stay up there.
Right now in South Philly. It's unbelievable what's going on down there.
Right. And how we don't see, like, this already happened. And yeah, it's still, like, I was trying to go to my Facebook page years ago, trying to convince blacks not to sell their property. But it's me talking, so who gives a shit? Like, what do I know, right? And then you fast forward and you see, why would you sell your house that you get for pennies? You're going to sell it for pennies and then pay hundreds of thousands for houses that aren't even worth it. And then they're going to come in this neighborhood and make your dollar house into $1 million house.
Yep. Yeah.
All
and the money that they put into your house, your row home that you sold, is going to continue to gain equity. Exactly. It's going to continue it's rising.
Exactly.
It's rising.
It's
you
moving
economics. Down to Delaware, and you moving down to Delaware County, and you moving to Bucks County and Montgomery County, and that property is losing value. It's
depreciating. Of course. Because you know why? Because you bought it at the high price. See, that's why white flight it's not just racist, it's economic. Yo, the realtor go to the white man and say, yo, I'm going to give you 3 times what you paid for this house. He got to sell it. He got to. Because if you don't sell it, well, you're going to run the risk. Because we bringing the niggas out here. And eventually you're going to run out of middle-class Negroes. Then you got to start selling neighborhood to poor Negroes. You know what I'm saying? So eventually your property value is going to decrease. So you might as well sell it now, get 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's how white flight happens. It's not necessarily a racial thing. Not necessarily. You know what I'm saying? But if black people would just stay where they belong, just stay put and do their thing, then we wouldn't have these problems. And now that we done made the mistake, what I want to do is I want to try to convince these young blacks who are in the next 5-10 years, getting ready to have kids. Yo, your primary objective is to teach your kid to be black and stay black and do for black people. Because you know what? That helps everybody in America.
Yeah. That
helps everybody.
Definitely.
The reason why we get shot in the street by the police, because it's a precedent set about, niggas is wild, niggas is shooting, niggas is, you know what I mean? So they use that. And then the players in court like, well, he's big, he's black, I was scared. And then there's the black loss of life right there. And he's justified, he gets off. You know what I'm saying? And that's really our fault because there's a precedent set. And then, with the drugs and the violence. So now what we gotta do is we gotta teach the children that don't fall into the traps that we fell into.
Yeah, and that starts with us opening up our own buildings and having our own teachers and teaching our kids to be what we need them to be.
Exactly.
Not what other people need them to be.
Right. That's exactly the case. Yep. Because if this continues, it's only going to get like I can see America is really building up, but the Negro is staying right where we in place. Like we running in place. We running on a treadmill.
Yeah, on the gerbil, the hamster wheel.
The hamster wheel. Right. And it's like fueling their machine. See that wheel that's turning that we're running on is actually pushing their
something else.
yeah. It's pushing their agenda further.
Yep.
It's time
we definitely on the wheel. It's doing nothing. It's funding the courts. I'm saying that's probably the main thing is funding the courts and the jails. Pretty much all is funding.
Because they get money from every wherever. It's like playing baseball. And all the bases are covered. Whatever avenue a Negro's going down, there is the power collecting his funds. Like he gets a percentage of his own money. The money he generates, he get a small percentage of. Like for instance, Floyd Mayweather, he dancing around. I got a $350 million check, but nigga just generated probably $10 billion. You think all the flights that came into Vegas,
for Comcast and Time Warner Cable?
Yeah, nigga just put $10 billion in the economy, and he got a $350 million check, and he dancing. See, we gotta teach our children about that. See, don't be no stupid ass nigga. And then we sit around, people on the ground, we look at him and salute him like, yo, Floyd getting that bread. But he not though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He not getting the bread.
Somebody getting it's always like I said, like if they giving A-Rod, who was the most wealthiest baseball player, was it Alex Rodriguez or something like that?
I think it was
if they giving him $200 million to play ball, how much is Steinbrenner? How much was Steinbrenner's dad? How much was Steinbrenner bringing in? How much was he bringing in? If he could give him $200 million or however much he was making, $250 million to play to smack a ball and run around some dirt. How much was he getting?
Exactly.
Is Steinbrenner making money? I don't know if you know or not. Do the teams make money off the selling of they specific hat? Because Steinbrenner is probably a billionaire just off the selling, or was a billionaire off of the Yankee hat being sold.
Yeah.
Just the hat alone.
Yep.
Not the overpriced drinks and the parking and the $12 hot dogs.
It's the merchandise. So we can't take, you know what I mean? It's like, yo, they constantly taking our natural resource, which is the black human body, and they capitalize off it. And it's time we start capitalizing. But that's just us being, retarded. Now it's time for us to stop being retarded, start thinking for us. Like I never understood, like, the sisters sometimes are so ready to dismiss a brother because he's not on her level. And I was like, but fuck it, he love you though. So how about y'all come together and combine your incomes and be a fucking family? How about that? Because that helps the child. Okay, when it's love in the house, I wish they could do a statistic on us, a statistical spreadsheet on that kind of stuff. When it's love in the home, I can guarantee that the child will flourish and be a productive adult. But women think it's money. I'm gonna move to the suburbs and get a nice, a white picket fence, and I'm gonna send them to this school that's ranked among the top. And then I'm gonna buy them all the toys and shit.
The kids don't like you. The teachers don't like you. They looking at you like, what you doing here?
Because he's too black for the white kids and too white for the black kids. He don't fit in. And then he turns into something he's not. And then it's a problem. It's psychological, it's mental issues.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I see
creating a problem.
I could tell
everybody else is teaching their kids to love themselves. It's like the Asians will teach their kids whatever native language that they from, their nationality, maybe Korean or Japanese. they'll teach their children that before they teach them English.
Exactly.
You know, like it's very hard to find Asians, even born in America, not even native born Asians, that don't speak Chinese, that don't speak Japanese, that don't speak Korean, that don't speak, you know, that Vietnamese or Cambodian. They speak those languages because they are taught that from day one. The Jews teach their kids, they go to school, the Hebrew school. When they turn 14, 13 years old, they had a bar mitzvah and they speak in Hebrew because they teaching them to love themselves.
Right. So we should.
At the end of the day, that needs to happen with us.
Exactly. And because now, you know, we got kids who are now adults, some of us. Yo, pretty soon they're going to have kids.
Yeah.
And be right here to witness it.
I see it. I'm witnessing it. Right. I'm witnessing girls that I know is 15, 16 years old. They don't know nothing. They got kids. They pushing strollers.
But see, this is the key. Our parents messed up, and they messed us up, and we messed up, and that we messed our kids up. Now we got to say, okay, our people our age, we witnessed it, we seen it, and now we about to go into. Some of us about to be grandparents in the next, 10, 15 years. And now that we got the information, now we know what to do.
Yeah.
Everything we was taught was wrong because obviously it didn't work out for us. Because guess what? Statistically, the family is destroyed. Black women have the kid, but she won't get married. Now, what you think the next generation going to do? It's only going to get worse. Same
exact thing.
And then everybody act like, the father is the one that's leaving. But no, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about you finding a man that you can follow, that a righteous brother that's going to take care of you and your kids.
Yeah, and I'm gonna lead with this because I heard Farrakhan. I got to run and do something.
Okay.
But I heard Farrakhan the other day. He was giving a speech. He was talking about, he was pretty much down in the black man, talking about, we need to do better with these women. And I just thought to myself, 'cause I'm not a fan of Farrakhan at all. I don't like his history. Like I studied history, and I don't like his history. He was kind of berating the black man for doing these things. That stereotypical things like dipping out on our women and all that shit. Yeah. And I wanted to say to Farrakhan, at your age, man's like 80 years old. Like you're trying to act as if women didn't have a part in this. And I kind of took offense to Farrakhan talking like this. It's like, come on, Farrakhan. 100% of the women that men have sex with, if they're not a rapist, agreed to have sex with them. 9 times out of 10, I ain't gonna say every time because some women have been bamboozled.
Right.
9 times out of 10, Farrakhan, 80-year-old man, a woman knows what kind of man she's sleeping with. Like she knows that if he got kids, if he's not taking care of them, he know that he don't like his family. She knows that if he's a ladies' man, and by ladies' man I mean he got Tina, Tammy, and Susan at every different corner of town, and they choose to bring this baby to term, knowing a lot of women know this stuff. And if you don't know this stuff about the man, you shouldn't even be getting pregnant by him.
Exactly.
I'm saying like, and I'm like, Farrakhan, come on, dog. Like that. Women are 50% of the child-making process.
And let me say this. Let me just interject. It's a situation where the man is becoming who the woman wants. Okay? So he is, spitting that game at her because that's what she wants to hear. If a woman was attracted to goofy, nerdy motherfuckers named Poindexter, then that's what we all would be. Because Poindexter's getting the ass. You understand? So if a woman's, if her thing was, you go up to her, hey baby, can I talk to you for a minute? First thing she said, what kind of grades you getting? Let me see your report card.
Yeah.
Then that changed the whole dynamic. That's a game changer right there. But again, that's something we got to teach the unborn females. Because the prime objective of these modern girls is just to get what they can get, and let the chips fall where they may. So she's in my opinion, she's causing the wreckage.
We definitely got to start getting our kids and out of them buildings that them people made for their kids, and get our people into some buildings that we made for our kids. I'm saying that's where it started at, man. We gotta. That's what we gotta do. It was a pleasure to be on your podcast. I gotta do some of my fatherly things now. Yeah, and I'm gonna talk to you in a few. And I appreciate the time.
All right, no doubt. It's about over anyway.
All right, thanks a lot, Al.
All right, no problem.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, so that was it. So we're just going real quick. Hopefully y'all join me again next week. Next week it'll be much better. Well, no, this was pretty good, but you know what I'm saying. We're gonna get into deeper stuff, and we'll see where it goes. And I want y'all to call in and and participate. So I'm out.
You know the differences between me and you? I bleed red. You bleed green. What you been building for us?